Welcome to episode number 88 of the Giant Take podcast. I'm Josh and I am joined by my co-host Alex. We are here and recording another episode a day late. It's okay though. We're here on Friday morning recording and we're excited. I don't sound too upbeat, but I am. I'm pretty excited for this episode. And I'll start out by, addressing the audience with how my co-host Alex is doing. So Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Drafts inching closer and closer. If I look at my calendar here, what are we looking at? The 29th, right, for the first round. So we are a little bit under 3 weeks away. That's very exciting. The rumors are piling up. The trade gossip's piling up. And, this year's definitely a little bit more interesting for the Giants, like we mentioned before, because you could really go anywhere in this first round and really throughout the entire draft. So I'm excited. And I'm just ready to get right into it. And obviously the big news, maybe on the face of it doesn't look like it affects the Giants very much, but it ends up affecting the Giants a whole bunch if you look at it more closely.
Yeah, and Alex is referring to the news that Sam Darnold has been traded to the Carolina Panthers. The Jets quarterback is now going to be Zach Wilson. I'm saying it with much confidence. I really don't think Justin Fields, Mac Jones, or Trey Lance will jump into that second spot. Some people are saying it, but I think if this doesn't, if you didn't see the Jets taking a quarterback, and I think I mentioned this, if you haven't already, check out our last video, our 2.0 mock draft with trades. We had, it was a really good mock draft. I enjoyed it. You can also check it on thegianttake.com. But I think I mentioned in that video that if you didn't think already that the Jets were going to take a quarterback in the NFL draft, I think you now definitely think they're going to take a quarterback in the NFL draft for that second pick, and I think it's going to be Zach Wilson. But anyway, that also shows you that the Panthers might not take a quarterback with their pick. I believe they're at 8, and they will probably not take a quarterback now because they have Teddy Bridgewater, and if not Teddy Bridgewater, they also have Sam Darnold. So those are two players that I think are pretty quality players. They also, the news came out that the Panthers allowed Teddy Bridgewater to seek trades with other teams, so maybe it might just be Sam Darnold. But it looks like Sam Darnold is a QB of the future for the Panthers as they gave up a few picks for him. And Alex, like you said, that really shapes the draft, not so much for the Jets, but the Panthers especially, and they're going to be later towards the Giants pick at 11. So that's really big news.
Yeah, and you look at the Panthers team news or their team needs per se, and you really look at it, and I think there's only two ways they go. I think at 8, if Kyle Pitts is there, I think they take him. I don't think he will be there, though. And if not, I think they will go offensive line, whether that be Sewell or Slater. So for the Giants, well, all three of those guys are people that I think if they were at our pick at number 11, we'd very much heavily consider. And one of those will definitely be swept up by Carolina, I believe, in the draft, unless, of course, they go for some offensive lineman who's farther down the board who may be coming up. A name like Tevin Jenkins, right? He's been really coming up draft boards lately. So he may be someone like you could see a more natural tackle. I don't know exactly what type of offensive lineman they need. I know they franchise tagged their one of their tackles, Modem, I believe, or Modem. So I'm not sure if they need tackle or guard. Slater obviously makes a lot of sense because he can play either one. So he offers that flexibility. But Sewell, obviously, people have been talking about him for quite a few years now coming out of Oregon. So I think if he's there as well, he's pretty much an instant take for pretty much any team, obviously, besides the Bengals, who may or may not mess it up there. And so if you're looking down the draft board, for me, I think if the Bengals are smart, they're going to take Sewell, right? They have to take Sewell, but they could take Jamar Chase. But I do think now they may take Sewell, just based off some rumors I heard recently. And then you're looking down the board. Miami, I think that's an instant Jamar Chase take. If he's there, they're taking him. And then after that, Lions, I think you're seeing another receiver, whether that's Smith or Waddle. I'm guessing it's probably Waddle. And then 8, I think you may see Kyle Pitts there then. If he's still there. I mean, the Falcons could take him at number 4, right? Or a team trading up to take him. But in this scenario, 4 quarterbacks go in the first 4 picks. You could see Carolina, taking Pitts there at 8. Maybe Pitts doesn't go as high as people expect. And then at 9, you're probably looking at 2 cornerbacks with Denver. Denver, you could see a quarterback, obviously, if there's no trade there. If it's Atlanta, you could see a cornerback, followed by another corner probably for Dallas. And then you still have Slater, Parsons, all the same guys that we've kind of been expecting to be at that pick. I'm really worried for this scenario. I think Slater is the most likely who could be affected and may not be there. And for me, I think that's a really big problem because I think we need to go offensive line. I've been thinking about it. I don't think we will, sadly, in the first round, but I think we really need to. I was thinking about this. I was listening to Entertaina's stream last night, Entertaina Talking Sports. Go check them out if you haven't. And they were talking about who are the 2 most important players on this team. Josh, you go right now. Who are the 2 most important players on this team?
On the New York Giants?
Yes.
See, I don't want to get this wrong. I'm probably going to go Saquon Barkley. And I would have to say maybe James Bradbury, if not a slow runner-up, maybe a runner-up Kenny Golladay.
Saquon Barkley. Wait, my fingers are out of the screen. Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, right? Those are the 2 most important players on this team. Maybe you look defensively, whatever. Both of those players, they have something very similar in common, right? Over the past 2 years, they've had the same kind of small issue. One small, one bigger. What's that issue? Injuries, right? And who protects them from those injuries? Offensive line. And I think when you're in there with an offensive line that has nobody that's really talented, you lost your best offensive lineman. Obviously, you have talented offensive linemen, but not experienced offensive linemen. Obviously, drafting one isn't going to bring more experience, but it will bring more quality. And eventually the quality will pile up to be a better offensive line. I think you've got to go Slater if he's there, or, any offensive lineman, really a guard. Obviously, guards, they're kind of weird because there's Vera Tucker. Obviously, he's kind of a swing guard tackle kind of guy as well. It's a little bit of a reach there at 11, so maybe if you trade back, you can get him. But I think Slater is the perfect value pick at 11 there. And I think if he's gone, that's not a good sign. In my opinion, I don't think the Giants will go there. I think they'll go guard 2nd round. I think the way I see it is edge, linebacker, 1st round, guard, tackle, 2nd round, and I think wide receiver 3rd round. I think that's the way I see it playing out, just based off the things I've heard, based on even last episode when we talked with Pat Leonard. Go check that out. Shameless plug right there. He was talking about how they're very interested in the edge and linebackers, and the pro days that Joe Judge went to, definitely signaled that to be true. That's kind of the way I see the first 3 rounds shaping up. And then, after that, you're probably looking corner, running back, maybe a tight end. If Evan Ingram's not in the long-term future, obviously he's on his last year. So that's kind of the way I see the draft shaping up. But I think, round 1, you've kind of got to go for an offensive lineman because this offensive line is going to be the make or break of this Giants team, right? When we bring in Saquon Barkley needs a good offensive line to run behind. Obviously, he's run behind terrible offensive linemen and still done well. But I'm not sure how long that can last, especially him coming off an injury, a very bad injury as well. He definitely needs to be protected, and Daniel Jones needs to be protected, right? We're banking all our coins, all our chips into Daniel Jones. We need to make sure that he has the best tools available. He already has some great weapons now. We need to protect him as well.
You mentioned Pat Leonard last episode, and I was going to actually mention that now because Pat Leonard dropped his first mock draft, and he mentioned it he plugged to his mock draft that he was going to draft, mention it this week. I can't speak anymore. But he did drop it. So let's go through it. And I already see Devontae Smith is going to the New York Giants at 11. So it's an open book. You never really know what's going to happen. He came on this podcast and I asked him the straight up question. I said, hey, from what you've heard from, Giant scouts or anyone, your instinct right now, do you know who the Giants are drafting, who they're looking towards? And he said he didn't have a front runner, but he knows and he thinks, I think he knows that the Giants are very much looking in the first round for an edge rusher and linebacker, and that's what he told us. And then he went here on his mock draft as 1.0, on the New York Daily News, and drafts Devontae Smith at 11, wide receiver from Alabama. So it's an open book. We have no idea, right? And you could tell even he, he doesn't know for sure who the Giants could draft. That's just what he's going by, is that maybe it's a linebacker, but then we see here, obviously he switches it up, goes with Devontae Smith. So it's all an open book. And this is something, like we've mentioned before, Alex basically has mentioned it for the last few episodes, videos, whatever you want to call it, that we did not have this last year. It was basically an offensive tackle, and maybe we picked someone on the defense, but that was a risk, and we kind of knew it was going to be one of the three. And it was, I'm not going to say it was boring, because I think this also, with it being such an open book, that it's almost upsetting that we're not able to pick a front runner. We have no idea where they're going to go. Whereas last year it was going to be, Tristan Wirfs, Andrew Thomas, or the third player who I can't seem to think the name of. But go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, it was gonna be Jedrick Wills, right? Tristan Wirfs, Mekhi Becton, or Andrew Thomas, and then you saw Isaiah Simmons as well, was also in the mix for quite a while. The nice thing about that, though, was that we could really go in depth about those prospects, right? We could really look, long and hard and see and compare. But when you have like 10, 15 different options at number 11, it's a little bit harder to compare, especially when they're all different positions. At least 4 of those 5 were all playing the same position. You can compare them easily. And this year, it's definitely tough covering it. It gives us more things to talk about, I guess, if you think about it like that. But it's hard to cover each part in depth, I feel like. And if you look at it that way, it's kind of disappointing. But I really feel like we're going to see a curveball on draft night. That's just my feeling. I feel like we're going to take someone who's definitely going to be, in our mind, a reach, or at least a lot of people's mind. For example, there's this guy, there's this linebacker, Jeremiah Owusu-Karamoah. I think he is definitely in play at 11. I've watched a little bit of film on him. He seems like the type of player who the Giants like. He's flexible. We even heard that he was getting passes thrown at him by some of the Giants coaches at Notre Dame. So he's definitely another player that I could see the Giants reaching at, or not reaching, but quote unquote reaching based on the experts' mock drafts and draft boards. So I think you could definitely see someone like that, or one of these many edge rushers, Ojulari, Rousseau, Phillips. There's tons of guys there, Owosu. We could definitely see a curveball on draft night. And that's kind of what I'm predicting more and more. I don't think it's going to be one of these things that we're thinking. I don't think it's going to be a Slater, Smith, Waddle, Pitts, Parsons type of guy.
Yeah, I agree with you, Alex. I agree that it's, once again, going back to the point that I was trying to make earlier, that it's a complete open book. And I agree that there's going to be a curveball thrown. We have no idea what's going to happen. And there's going to be people that are mad at, GM Dave Gettleman, like there always are on the past few draft nights. And there will be people who like to pick, right? We'll have to see and wait. But as we're here already anyway, I guess I'll go to the 3 mock drafts that I have on the board that I brought up for this week. And that's going to be Josh Schrock, I hope I pronounced that right, of NBC Sports, has tight end Kyle Pitts. We see him flying in the top 5 some of the times, between 5 and 10. He has him at 11 to the Giants. We have Austin Gale from Pro Football Focus, PFF. Devontae Smith, wide receiver, Alabama. And then Pete Prisco from CBS Sports. I feel like we mentioned his before, but he is Gregory Rousseau going there. And you can, once again, check out our 2.0 mock draft on our YouTube channel and thegiantstake.com to see who we have the Giants picking at 11. Alex, what do you want to move to next? I'll give you the decision where you want to go from here.
I guess we'll move into some of the new coaches that we brought in. Not crazy big news, but we brought in 3 new assistants: Russ Callaway, Ryan Anderson, and Carter Blount. I want to say Blount. We're going to go with Blount. I think that's how you say it. They were brought in. We're building up quite a coaching staff, actually, quite a large coaching staff. So Callaway, he spent his last season at LSU as a senior offensive analyst. Anderson and Blount both are going to be brought in as defensive quality control coaches. And Anderson worked as a safeties coach at Elon College, and before that, he was at Hampton University as well. Blount was a special teams quality control analyst at Tennessee, and he has a history of Judge when they both worked at Alabama in 2009. So a couple of connections there. Nothing too big. These are just quality control coaches here. They're not going to make big impacts. But I believe the coaching staff number is up to 22 now, which is quite large for an NFL team. You know, there's going to be a lot of minds, a lot of thoughts bouncing around, and you're going to have Joe Judge is going to have to manage those thoughts and ideas and make sure that this team's working, or this coaching staff's working together effectively.
Yeah, and I mean, not too big of hires. I mean, just more people we're talking about. We had Rob Sale a few months ago at this point, I think a month or two ago now. And now we just have 3 more coaches joining the team. I don't really have much to say. Obviously, I'm kind of searching for words, and there's nothing really that I want to say / can say. So I'll just go on to what else we have. This kind of came out a few days ago now, about a week ago. Few days after we recorded our last episode last week. The Giants and Jason McCourty share mutual interest, and then after that point, we haven't really heard anything on it. So I have no idea what is going on there. But obviously, Jason McCourty has a brother that he's played with on the Patriots for a while. I think it's Devin McCourty. I think, and it's basically, I'm surprised if he'll leave the Patriots. I don't think he will, but if he does, then okay. I mean, I'll take him. He's older. He's 33. So, I mean, we'll have to see. But there's also other teams that are in the mix. Obviously, it's not just him. But, whatever it is. And hopefully, yeah, Devin McCourty is his brother. I wanted to make sure I had that right. But both of them same age. Haven't seen the Giants have interest in Devin McCourty. But Jason McCourty, they've shared mutual interest with him. Not really big news. But if we want to bring him in, that's fine. I, put him on a 1-year deal and a cheap deal, see what happens. But, yeah, defensive back, obviously, for the New England Patriots. So just wanted to bring that up. Alex, anything else? This is kind of like a shorter episode. I mean, we could talk some more draft a little bit, but, obviously I have to get one episode out a week. So it wasn't really much this week, but go ahead.
Yeah, it would have been better if we got Devin McCourty. I think he's probably a little bit of a better player at this point in time. He is a safety. But Jason McCourty, he is a little bit, from what I can tell from Patriots analysts and people who've covered the Patriots quite a bit, he's definitely aging at a very rapid pace. He's definitely not the same player he used to be. Could he bring some valuable experience to some of our younger cornerbacks like Darnay Holmes? Adoree Jackson obviously is still quite young as well. Yes, I think he could. But I think, we have plenty of experience at that cornerback position as well already. So I'm not really sure, what he would help or bring to the Giants that we kind of don't, that we don't already have. Besides being a solid cornerback number 3, maybe a cornerback number 2. Obviously, Adoree Jackson does have an injury history, right? So he could, hopefully not, but he could go down during the season. Then maybe it's a good idea. But I think there might even be, you might want to take a chance on a cornerback in the draft, maybe, 4th, 6th round. Obviously, we don't have a 5th round pick, one of those 2 6th round picks. And, you could probably come up, if you can hit on one of them, you might be able to find a player who's, at or about Jason McCourty's level at the moment and could have potential to be better in the future.
Yeah, completely agree. So, final thoughts. We got a lot of draft stuff covered in here. Be looking forward to next week. Our 3.0 mock draft will happen, and we'll talk about it on the podcast as well. Just to let everyone know, if you didn't watch it or you haven't been able to watch it, please check out the YouTube video right before this one about it. We had 4 quarterbacks going in the top 4, so at least I'll let that go. But I want you to check it out for yourself to see the Giants pick. We had Trevor Lawrence obviously going at 1. I already mentioned it. Zach Wilson, I think guaranteed at number 2, the New York Jets. San Francisco 49ers selecting Justin Fields. And then our first trade was the Denver Broncos trading up to 4 with the Atlanta Falcons, and they pick Trey Lance, quarterback out of North Dakota State. So please go check that out. Subscribe. Alex, last call. Anything else? I think we can wrap it up, right?
Yeah, make sure to go check out thegianttake.com. We have blog posts up there. That's where the mock drafts are as well. If you don't want to watch, you can just read it over there, and we'll have all the picks and trades there. And besides that, you can listen to our episodes on there, subscribe to our newsletter. And that's pretty much it. Josh, do you have anything else before we wrap it up?
Yeah, we're bouncing it back and forth like we're playing some pinball. But anyway, yeah, subscribe wherever you're listening. So subscribe on YouTube here. Drop a like. We would really appreciate it. Follow us on Instagram at The Giant Take, Twitter at The Giant Take Pod, Facebook at The Giant Take. And we will see you. Oh, 5 stars, rating and review. I don't like to ask for it, but I do have to ask for it because I want to ask for it. So, yeah, please, if you can't write a review, give us 5 stars. That's all you have to do. It's probably 5 seconds of your time. So we'd really appreciate it. And we will see you for another episode of the Giant Take podcast. It'll be 89, and we will see you next time.